By the time the fisherman discovers my body, I will have been deceased for 33 hours, 6 minutes, and 29 seconds. It has been 18 hours since the police reported me missing. 15 hours have passed since Zoe informed my biology teacher that my tent was unoccupied, that I hadn't come back from the party we had sneaked out to the previous night. We were careful and quiet, every twig a potential informant. It was thrilling, our hearts racing, the scent of pine and seaweed heavy in the air, with the moon resembling a perfectly curved sickle. Zoe grasped my sweaty hand and didn't release it until we had passed the tents and joined the others by the lake. The music from someone's phone was turned down just enough for us to hear Billie Eilish's raspy voice. One of the guys offered us a beer, chilled in the dark, lurking water. I recall thinking I couldn't distinguish where the lake ended and the forest began. The first article published by a local newspaper states, "Promising high school student missing after night swim in lake." Soon after, the Water Rescue Service and Fire Brigade take charge of the search. Dogs scour the area, their noses trailing through the moist earth. A human chain forms, people moving slowly through the woods, their eyes searching for any sign of me. Even a helicopter hovers above, its whirring blades cutting through the heavy, charged air. The search continues for hours, extending into twilight, yet the woods remain eerily silent. The police start to pose questions. When was she last seen? What was she wearing? Had she been drinking? Did she seem out of character? Angry? Sad? Suicidal? No, and no. She was singing, she was dancing, she appeared joyful. When the fisherman discovers my body miles away from where I was last seen, certainty settles in. The autopsy uncovers a hematoma on my head and purple spots behind my ears. The coroners analyze the water in my lungs and confirm that I was not dead before entering the water. I died from drowning. My classmates are questioned once more. Zoe asserts that she left early while I remained behind with her twin, Tom, who has harbored feelings for me since middle school. The police find Tom's actions peculiar. He claims he hardly spoke to me, even though witnesses saw us leave the party together for a brief moment. Upon examining my body, traces of Tom's skin are discovered on my clothing, caught between the layers of fabric. Nevertheless, Tom maintains his narrative, possibly because revealing the truth would cause him embarrassment for some reason. Or perhaps he fears the ensuing questions and the attention that might accompany them. Tom is correct. In a general sense, we really only exchanged 3 or 4 sentences that evening. But that was only because Tom's mouth was otherwise engaged with me. I relished every moment. And in hindsight, I wish I had given him a genuine opportunity. However, I was too concerned about others' opinions. So, as is often the case, I dismissed him, leaving him to depart from the party feeling wounded. Cassandra asserts she overheard Zoe and me arguing that night, just before Zoe returned to the campsite. She claims we were quarreling over Tom. Naturally, she would say that. What else would 2 girls argue about if not a boy? Cassandra even alleges that Zoe pushed me, although Zoe vehemently denies it. She insists that our discussion had nothing to do with Tom, claiming it was about something else, something that wouldn't be revealed until much later when our biology teacher became a suspect. Yet Cassandra remains steadfast in her account. The issue with Cassandra is that she has always been a mere shadow, the type of girl whose name teachers forget shortly after spring break. Kelly, Cindy, Carrie, something starting with a C, right? So when she finally gets the opportunity to speak with the police and participate in the investigation, she seizes it. Unfortunately, Cassandra doesn't provide much assistance to the investigators. She leaves the party at 2 a.m., just 40 minutes before my death, leaving me alone with a group of guys who have brought some tranquilizers. Being next to them felt like being trapped in a fever dream where Jacques Derrida and Podskay physics were being discussed at a fraternity gathering. At a certain moment, I decided it was time to return. One of the guys casually inquired if I needed someone to accompany me, and I agreed. Yet no one moved. I looked back. The campsite faintly visible through the cold, white light filtering through the pines. It was merely a few meters away, just beyond the trees. I had traversed this path for days, never once feeling threatened by the shadows lurking in the bushes. However, tonight, that unsettling feeling in my stomach lingered. Still, I refused to be that girl, the one who got frightened by every creak in the darkness, the one who required someone to hold her hand for a few steps. So I stood up and declared I would walk alone. Instead of sticking to the dark trail, though, I opted for a slight detour along the riverbank, a bit longer, a bit brighter, and hopefully a bit safer. One of the guys asked me to text him when I reached my tent, but when I didn't, no one even noticed. 16 days after my demise, suspicion begins to turn toward our biology teacher. Devin, one of my classmates, discloses that he had felt unwell that night and went searching for the teacher's tent only to discover it was empty. Shortly thereafter, the teacher's behavior takes a peculiar turn. He starts making inconsistent statements that don't align. One day, he summons Zoe into his office after class, where he insists that his earlier alibi is correct. The biology teacher is promptly suspended, yet the allegations against him are unrelated to my situation, as Cassandra's alibi exonerates him. In the meantime, the doubts surrounding Zoe and Tom are too flimsy to act upon. My case remains unresolved, and eventually people start to accept the notion that it was merely a tragic accident, that I must have struck my head when I leapt into the water. They concur that I appeared unhappy, not just that evening, but overall, and that my relationship with my parents, who had high expectations for my success, was strained. Perhaps the pressure had finally taken its toll on her. It's all quite dissatisfying, of course. Dissatisfying for the local magazine, whose updates eventually come to a halt. Dissatisfying for the police, left with yet another unresolved case on their desk. Dissatisfying for my parents, who, decades later, will state in an interview that not a single day passes without them thinking of their little girl. Perhaps one day, a classmate will compose a college essay about my case, reflecting on how it taught them that life can end in an instant. Maybe my story will feature on a true crime podcast. Or perhaps Netflix will adapt it into a tightly woven 8-episode miniseries, where my body is discovered just 3 minutes in, just enough time for viewers to decide if they'll continue watching. Or perhaps none of this occurs, and I'll fade into obscurity, like countless other women who are silenced daily simply for being born the wrong sex. It doesn't matter who benefits from my story. It doesn't even matter if they eventually locate the 2 men I encountered on my way back to the campsite, in the wrong place at the wrong time. None of this matters, because ultimately, I'm just another dead girl beneath the water.